I discovered the Book of Changes, the Yi Jing, around August 2024. More accurately, I should say, I rediscovered the book. Because I had known it when I was 15, but only as a book of fortune-telling, I had no idea it carried deeper meanings. What really caught my attention this time was the story of King Wen's wife, how she suddenly transformed from a beautiful concubine into a woman warrior. That's not what I used to know. As I kept reading, I realized everything in that dynasty was different from what I thought I knew. As archaeologists unearthed tombs and discovered the oracle bone scriptures, the whole history was rewritten. King Wen wrote the Book of Changes when he was held hostage for 7 years. He didn't just create a fortune-telling book. He carved history into bones. So I began practicing fortune-telling again. It's much easier now. Everything's computerized. And of course, the first question I asked was, will I win the FINRA lawsuit? The answer, the hexagram, was depressing. It described dispute, it gave advice about compromise, there was no clear winning or losing. But I was shocked. How did it know I was asking about my lawsuit? A few weeks later, I asked again, and got the same hexagram. Out of 64 possible outcomes, the same one. I was stunned. And weeks after that, I asked a third time. This time, I was paralyzed. I felt humbled. This was proof of how little I knew about this book, proof of how wrongly I dismissed it, like so many others. That's when I began searching YouTube, watching everything I could find. I saw all kinds of people, street vendors who read fortunes for a living, and one man, our university professor in Taiwan. He had hours and hours of lectures online, and I watched them all. I cried when he talked about Confucius. Why did I cry? I used to hate Confucius class when I was 15. They forced us to memorize all those sayings. But the professor said, Confucius taught the Book of Changes after he retired, in his 50s. This was the last book he ever taught. I felt so small. Who am I? I kept practicing fortune-telling. I remembered what the professor said. It's okay if you don't know the Book of Changes, but if you do, it will change you. Now I read the book differently. Each hexagram is no longer just an answer. Each one is a story, full of metaphors and images. There are 64 hexagrams. Each one has 6 lines. Each line tells a story. That's 384 stories. How many stories are in the Bible? And these lines, they're all connected, all woven into the cosmos. Your task is to understand their movements, their interactions, and maybe, somehow, to solve the problems of the universe. As I matured, I began to ask different questions. Not, will I win my case, but how can I present myself? I made a mistake with the district court judge when I was younger. He once told me logic is not needed in court. I couldn't accept that. I reported him, and my life was miserable after that. Later, I had a case with a contractor who wanted to file a lien on my property. That mattered because I wanted to sell the house. So what did I do? First, I asked the book the usual question, and of course, got a bad answer. Then I asked, will the judge be in a good mood? The answer was yes. That meant if he's in a good mood and I still lose, then I really have no chance. Then I asked, what if my daughter goes in my place? Same answer as the judge's mood. So, she should go. On the court date, I went anyway, hoping I wouldn't have to go into the room, but they called me in. It was hard. I could feel the judge was trying to punish me. I looked down at the ground most of the time. The contractor didn't even show up. He phoned in. The judge demanded more evidence from him. Then the contractor tried to countersue. He called me the, quote, black magic lady, end quote. Said my fortune-telling hurt his business. The judge said, you can sue her, but in your own district. Weeks later, the contractor still filed in my district, and we never received the notice. A secretary called my daughter. Thank God, she liked my daughter. She saved us. The final result, we owed each other nothing, and the contractor couldn't file the lien. I was relieved, but I never imagined such a simple case could unfold so dramatically. My passion for fortune-telling is not about gaining anything, not profit, not luck. It's about curiosity, and about whether ontological justice exists. Since I became a landlord, I've started talking more about cosmological justice. There are just too many difficult people out there, and no court to go to. That's what I was trying to do with the contractor. I wanted him to find his own conscience, but it backfired. Strangely, though, it still saved me. We fortune tellers are like doctors. We need bedside experience, we need case studies, but I can't just go out on the street and ask if anyone wants their fortune told. So I practice on myself. Have I asked many questions about my FINRA case? Yes, but I won't say them here. One thing still bothers me, though, something I came across during my research. Carl Jung once said, "The book of changes is about synchronicity." And I thought, what a beautiful word. Maybe that's what we're doing in this hearing, trying to synchronize our minds for a resolution. So, let's have it.